Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. Even if you hate this movie, it's still 9,873 times better than the previous movie that we got back in 2000. Oh. This abomination against humanity contains one of the worst CG dragons I've ever seen put on a big screen, and it still haunts my dreams. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, I need to jump on a plane in 5 hours, but first, let's talk about Dungeons & Dragons. I did see this at a press screening with a couple of YouTube pals, and speaking of that, I will be at MegaCon in Orlando, Florida this week and doing a couple panels talking about movies and YouTube, so if you're there, give me a high five. Give me a hug? I don't know, but I hope to see you there. I've never played D&D, and I won't claim to be an expert, but I feel like with Stranger Things, this game has had a strong resurgence in recent years, and I did once have a conversation with a friend of a friend who's really into D&D, and I asked him a simple question once. And 97 minutes later, he was still explaining a campaign that he went on while playing this game 12 years ago. And I'll keep it real with you, that was one of the most intense stories I've ever heard in my entire life. It was epic, it was awesome, it was adventurous, and it all took place in his parents' basement. The best way to describe this movie is, it's a very self-aware fantasy comedy film, and if I had to compare it to something else, I would say it's along the lines of The Princess Bride. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves is not trying to be the new Lord of the Rings, and if it tried to be something that epic, I think it would fail. Epically. Not only is this movie funny, there are some really cool action set pieces at times, and the one thing I do know about D&D is, along the way, you use your imagination to make the most entertaining, action-packed, epic adventure campaign you can have with your friends while playing it in your mother's basement. I don't know why, every time I imagine people playing D&D, it has to be in someone's basement. Hopefully there's like wood paneling on the walls. That's the best type of basement there is. Maybe a little bit of shag carpet. Oh yeah. But my point is, when you play D&D with your friends, you make it up as you go. You use your imagination, and that's the thing that they got perfectly right in this film is, during the big action sequences, characters are just making things up as they go, which is exactly what you do in the game. And they got that right. And if you did that in any other movie where you just make up shit as you go, well, technically that wouldn't be a good thing. But in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves, yeah, it works perfectly. I would assume fans of the game will really enjoy things like that, but another thing you guys will enjoy is the sponsor of this video. So yeah, I'll be right back, don't go anywhere, then we'll keep talking about D&D. Big thanks to Bright Cellars for sponsoring this video. Bright Cellars makes trying new wines easy and fun. When you start with Bright Cellars, you take a quick 7-question quiz, and they'll match you with wines from all over the world. And with this, you get a variety that's personalized to your taste. And as a guy who doesn't know anything about wine, this makes life easy. And once it arrives, not only do you get to drink it, you get to learn about it. Wine doesn't have to be snobby, it can be fun. For example, I'm drinking this fine rosé right now, which comes from California, and the reason I know that is each one of these wines come with their own individualized card. These education cards tell you everything you need to know about the wine, what temperature to serve it at, where it comes from, what's in it. One other cool thing is, recently we've started hosting game nights over at our house, and with Bright Cellars, we always have a new variety of wines to try out with our friends. Thank you again, Bright Cellars, for giving my followers a limited time offer of $100 off their subscription. Click the link in the description to get started. This is the best deal they've ever had, and once again, big thanks to Bright Cellars, and for you guys watching this, it does help make videos possible, and with all of that said, let's get back to the review. Now this film does star Chris Pine as Edgin, who's a likable, quick-witted thief and the leader of a small but lovable group of criminals. Or misfits, whatever you want to call them. Just on a quick side note, his character in this film reminded me of Flynn Rider from Disney's Tangled. It's not a bad thing. And as far as Chris Pine goes, he's a likable dude, and you believe what he's doing on the screen. If it's an action movie, a drama movie, a sci-fi film, or a self-aware comedy like this, I just buy the shit he's saying. And throughout this film, he's more or less doing his Captain Kirk shtick like he did in Star Trek, but it works for this character. And the overall story in this film is, he's trying to reunite with his daughter. Oh yeah, the movie also stars Michelle Rodriguez, who plays sort of like this Xena, tough warrior princess type character, and it was just nice to see her in something else besides Fast and Furious, even though I think there's an overarching theme of family in this movie as well, but I'll take what I can get. The standout for me in this film was played by actor Justice Smith, who plays Simon, the self-deprecating wizard. Yeah, he's not a very good wizard, but I really enjoyed that character. It's just cool to see him casting spells and shit. Now, this film does come from the creators of Game Night, which is another comedy movie I've only seen once. And after watching D&D, I sort of want to go back and revisit it at some point. And when it comes to a comedy movie, it has one objective, and that is to make you laugh your ass off. And did I laugh throughout this film? Yeah, it's a funny movie. Not only is it a comedy movie, it's a fantasy action adventure film, like I said, and I feel like that's a group of genres we don't get enough of from Hollywood, or at least good ones. One of the most hilarious scenes in this film takes place in a graveyard. Yeah, it's good stuff. Now, here are my final flicking thoughts on Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. Take a sip of this. I really enjoyed this movie. Is it perfect? No, but I feel like all the things they were trying to do, well, they accomplished them. Because I feel like we were all long overdue for a good comedy, fantasy, action, adventure film from Hollywood that delivered on its promises. And what are those promises? Well, you got a D&D movie, you want dungeons, you want dragons. You got that in this movie. And my thing is, when it comes to a comedy movie, if it's funny, then it did its job, and all the fantasy and action set pieces were just bonuses along the way. And most importantly, I would rewatch this movie again on a rainy day, eating some frozen pizza with a big glass of Mountain Dew. So I'm going to give this movie this score right here. Now here's my question for you, and let me know down below if you've seen this movie, what did you think about it, or if you're a fan of the game, and then you watch this movie, were you happy with it? Were you pleasantly surprised? Did it fulfill your need for a D&D movie that was less shitty than the 2000s one? As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. That way I can see you next time. And hopefully I see you this weekend.